Nietzsche's 11 Principles for a Wise Life, a Practical Guide. 1. Self-reliance and inner directedness. Nietzsche believed that wisdom begins with trusting yourself and forging your own path, independent of the crowd. He warns against living by others' values or waiting for permission to live authentically. In his view, each individual is unique and must own themselves and their journey in life. No one can construct for you the bridge upon which precisely you must cross the stream of life. No one but you yourself alone. Practical advice. Embrace your role as the architect of your life. Instead of seeking constant validation or following society's script, take responsibility for your choices. For example, set aside time to reflect on your true goals without outside input. Practice making small decisions, what to wear, how to spend a free evening, based on your personal tastes rather than trends. Over time, these little acts of independence build the confidence to make bigger life choices, career, relationships, lifestyle that align with your inner values. Modern example. Think of an entrepreneur who pursues an unconventional business idea despite naysayers, or an artist who develops a unique style instead of copying the popular genre. Such people illustrate Nietzsche's point. By relying on their inner voice rather than the tribe, they create original, fulfilling lives. In your own daily life, being inner-directed might mean choosing a field of study you're passionate about, even if it's not practical in others' eyes, or simply spending a weekend doing what energizes you instead of what everyone else is doing. Nietzsche's message is motivational and clear. You have the privilege of owning yourself, so claim it and walk your singular path with confidence. 2. Self-forgiveness and small steps forward. Wisdom also involves treating ourselves kindly and recognizing that great progress happens in small increments. Nietzsche encourages us to avoid harsh self-criticism and needless guilt. Instead, see personal growth as a gradual process. One must learn to walk before one can fly. Every mistake or stumble is just part of learning, not a final verdict on your worth. He who would learn to fly one day must first learn to stand and walk and run and climb and dance. One cannot fly into flying. Practical advice. Be patient and forgiving with yourself as you improve in any area of life. Set small, achievable goals and celebrate incremental progress. If you're trying to adopt a new habit, like exercising or learning a language, accept that you'll have off days or mistakes. Don't berate yourself when those happen. Nietzsche's insight suggests you focus on consistent baby steps. Today's 1% improvement will compound over time. Also, practice reframing failures as lessons. When something goes wrong, respond as Nietzsche suggests, without remorseful brooding. Tell yourself that stumbling is simply an opportunity to start again wiser. This attitude keeps you moving forward instead of stuck in self-criticism. Modern example. Consider a student who fails a difficult exam. Instead of calling themselves a failure, a Nietzschean approach would be to gently analyze what went wrong, forgive the lapse, and make a plan for gradual improvement. Study a bit each day, seek help, practice more problems. Over the semester, the student's small, consistent efforts pay off, and they improve their grade. By not indulging in harsh self-blame, they had the mental energy to keep progressing. In everyday life, you can do the same, whether you're developing a skill at work, trying to get in shape, or learning an instrument. Give yourself permission to be a beginner and improve step by step. Nietzsche's wisdom here is motivating. Progress, not perfection, is the goal, and a compassionate self-view will carry you further than constant self-reproach. 3. Turning constraints into opportunities, consecration of chance. Nietzsche was a great advocate of amor fati, or love of fate. which means embracing everything that happens, even chance, hardship or constraints, as something meaningful and potentially positive. Rather than seeing obstacles as merely blocking our way, Nietzsche urges us to consecrate them, to treat chance events and limitations as material we can use to grow wiser and stronger. In other words, make life's randomness work for you by finding the opportunity in it. I want to learn more and more to see as beautiful what is necessary in things. Then I shall be one of those who make things beautiful. Amor fati, let that be my love henceforth. Practical advice. Train yourself to respond to setbacks with a yes. When an unchosen circumstance arrives, a sudden job loss, a breakup, an illness, or any constraint, pause and ask, how can I use this? This might mean looking for a lesson, a new path, or an unexpected benefit hidden in the difficulty. For example, if you're forced to change plans, say a project at work falls through, see it as a chance to innovate in a way you wouldn't have otherwise. Deliberately adopt the mindset that every happening carries a gift or challenge that will shape you for the better. Nietzsche's idea is essentially to cultivate resilience as a habit of mind. You can even perform a small ritual of consecration for a constraint. Write down one positive thing that could come out of it. This trains your brain to treat that limitation as a stepping stone, not a dead end. Modern example. Many people have turned constraints into triumphs in our own time. Think of an athlete who, after an injury, discovers a new passion for coaching, or a tech worker who is laid off and uses the break to start their own company. A concrete example, a person loses their job due to an economic downturn. Initially, this seems disastrous. Applying Nietzsche's principle, they embrace the situation and use the free time to learn a new skill or pursue a dream business idea. In retrospect, that chance upheaval was the opportunity of a lifetime. Even on a smaller scale, if a rainstorm ruins your plans to hike, Nietzsche would smile to see you use the day to read, create, or connect with family at home instead. By saying yes to whatever occurs and finding its value, you practice the empowering art Nietzsche recommends, turning every constraint into an opportunity. This proactive, positive acceptance of fate will make you more adaptable and optimistic in the face of life's uncertainties. 4. Positive acceptance of the past. Amor fati. Wise living, for Nietzsche, means wholeheartedly accepting whatever has already happened, including your past mistakes and pains, and even viewing them as necessary steps in your growth. He argues that we shouldn't merely tolerate our past or regret it, but actually love it as an irreplaceable part of our story. Every error and hardship contains lessons that shape who we are. In Nietzsche's evolutionary perspective, problems and failures drive the development of strength and knowledge. Just as in nature, stressors lead species to evolve. Instead of wishing your past were different, Nietzsche advises embracing it. It made you, you. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Practical advice. Practice active acceptance of your past. This can be done through reflection exercises. For instance, list a few of your past mistakes or painful experiences, and next to each, write what it taught you or how it contributed to your personal development. By extracting the lessons, you start to see those events as instructive, even valuable. Whenever you catch yourself brooding over should-have-beens or feeling bitter about an old error, gently remind yourself of Nietzsche's lesson. Nothing in your past is wasted if you learn from it. You might even say to yourself, I would go through it again because it made me who I am. This attitude doesn't mean you approve of bad things that happened. It means you refuse to live in denial or resentment about them. You acknowledge the reality, it happened, and integrate it into your life story going forward. Another actionable tip is to view your personal problems with a broader, evolutionary lens. Ask how overcoming this type of challenge might be part of human growth in general. This shifts your mindset from self-pity to curiosity about how humans adapt and overcome. Modern example. A clear illustration is someone who has made a career change after a failure. Say you started a business that eventually failed. Instead of calling it wasted time, you choose to see it as a necessary experiment that taught you invaluable business lessons and personal resilience. Many successful entrepreneurs actually embrace their early failures this way, saying, "I wouldn't trade that failure for anything because I learned X, Y, and Z from it." On a more personal level, consider a person who went through a difficult breakup or divorce. Rather than remaining angry or regretful, they use the experience to understand themselves better, perhaps learning what they need in a relationship and growing emotionally. They may even come to feel grateful for the good times that were and the lessons of the tough times. This attitude exemplifies Nietzsche's amor fati. It's motivational because it frees you from the burden of past regrets. You realize that all your ups and downs are raw material for your growth. By positively accepting the past, you reclaim power over your narrative and equip yourself with hard-won wisdom for the future. 5. Love of art and culture with clear eyes. Nietzsche had a profound love of art, music, literature, and even religious imagery for the wisdom and deep human truths they contain. He saw culture and art as sources of inspiration and insight that can enrich our lives. He famously wrote, "Without music, life would be a mistake." Practical advice. Actively incorporate art and culture into your quest for wisdom. This could mean setting aside moments in your week to engage with the arts. Listen to music that moves you. Read literature, poetry, novels, philosophy that grapples with life's big questions. Visit a museum or watch films that inspire you. These experiences can broaden your perspective and offer comfort or answers in difficult times. Nietzsche would especially approve of art that makes you feel more alive and insightful. However, as you absorb cultural wisdom, practice a balanced awareness of its limits. For example, you might find great moral insight in religious texts or mythologies, and that's wonderful. But Nietzsche would remind you also to question and think for yourself, recognizing that these works, as inspired as they are, came from human minds in specific historical contexts. Modern example. Imagine you're struggling with finding meaning in life. A practical Nietzschean approach might be to immerse yourself in a powerful novel or a symphony that has themes of overcoming hardship. The art could give you emotional insight and solace that dry facts cannot. Many people find, for instance, that listening to Beethoven's uplifting symphonies or reading the epics of Homer and Dante provides strength and perspective during personal trials. At the same time, keep Nietzsche's clear-eyed view. Enjoy the elevation that art and culture give you, but don't become fanatical or uncritical. For instance, you can appreciate the community and tradition in a religious ceremony, the art in the rituals, music, and architecture, without suspending your own critical thinking about the beliefs. Nietzsche, ever the lover of Greek tragedy, would have us learn from art's wisdom and emotional power, while never forgetting that we ultimately must shape our own understanding of life. This balanced love of art enriches your life with beauty and meaning, fueling you with inspiration while keeping you grounded in reality. 6. Avoiding simplifications. Embrace nuance and history. To live wisely, Nietzsche argues we must resist the urge to oversimplify life's complexities. He detested one-sided views and generalizations that ignore the rich, on the one hand, on the other hand, reality of most issues. There are no eternal facts, no absolute truths, Nietzsche wrote, yet everything evolved. There are no eternal facts, as there are no absolute truths. Practical advice: cultivate a habit of critical thinking and curiosity. When someone presents a sweeping generalization, people are either good or bad. This policy will either save us or ruin us. Pause and examine the other sides of the issue. Ask yourself, what is the historical context here? How did things get to be this way? Nietzsche suggests that a lot of misunderstandings come from a lack of historical sense. So, make it a practice to inform yourself of the background of ideas. For example, if you're forming an opinion on a social issue, read about its history over decades or centuries. You'll likely discover it's more complex than it first appeared. Similarly, when you catch yourself thinking in all-or-nothing terms, "I always fail," or "so-and-so is completely wrong," challenge that by finding exceptions or counterpoints. Deliberately play Nietzsche's two-scale game. Weigh things on multiple scales. On one hand, what evidence supports one view? On the other, what evidence supports another? This doesn't mean you become indecisive. It means you make decisions with a fuller understanding and humility. Modern example. In our social media age, hot takes and extreme opinions are everywhere. A Nietzschean wise approach would be to refuse to jump on simplistic bandwagons. Suppose there's a heated debate about a new technology or diet. Instead of accepting the first bold claim you see, e.g., "this diet will cure everything," or "this tech is pure evil," you research its development, consider both benefits and drawbacks, and recognize it may be good for some, bad for others. By learning the nuances and the history, how did this diet emerge? What do nutritionists say? Your viewpoint becomes more sophisticated. In personal matters, avoid labeling yourself or others with blanket statements like, "I'm a total failure," or "she's always selfish." Life shows that people change and context matters. Maybe you failed in one context but succeeded in another. Maybe that person is selfish under stress but generous in other situations. Nietzsche's wisdom here empowers you to live with intellectual flexibility and depth. You won't be easily misled by half-truths because you'll habitually seek the whole truth, however complex. In turn, your judgments and decisions will be wiser and more just. 7. Learning from the past. Planning for the future. Nietzsche believed that history should serve life. In his essay on the use and abuse of history for life, he argues that studying the past is valuable only insofar as it inspires us and guides our future. In a wise life, you don't live in the past, but you do learn from it and use those lessons to inform your choices moving forward. Nietzsche distinguishes between mere antiquarian nostalgia and purposeful learning. The latter means you look at what has happened before, in your own life and in the world at large, and extrapolate insights to create a better future. The past is a treasure trove of lessons, and wisdom means putting those lessons into action. We need history for life and action, not for a comfortable turning away from life and action. We wish to use history only insofar as it serves living. Practical advice. Become a student of history with an eye to application. This can be personal history, your experiences, your family's stories, and broader history, world events, biographies of people you admire. For personal history, regularly reflect on previous chapters of your life and ask, what can I carry forward from this? How would I handle similar situations now? For example, if you struggled with procrastination last year and nearly missed a big opportunity, use that memory as motivation to plan better this year. For world history, read about historical figures or periods related to challenges you face. If you're starting a business, study a great entrepreneur's failures and successes. If you're dealing with a social issue, learn how similar issues played out in the past. Importantly, Nietzsche would have you put that knowledge to work. Make concrete plans or experiments based on it. Write down one actionable lesson from the past and commit to a future step with it. E.g., medieval monks managed distraction by strict schedules. I will design a daily routine to keep myself focused. In essence, treat history as a mentor rather than a museum piece. Modern example. A practical instance might be a professional team doing a project post-mortem. After finishing a project, they analyze what went well and what didn't. Then, crucially, they implement changes in the next project so as not to repeat mistakes. This is history for life on a small scale. On an individual level, think of someone recovering from a personal setback, like a failed relationship. A Nietzschean approach would be to thoughtfully review that relationship's history, not to wallow, but to extract wisdom. What red flags did I ignore? What communication failures happened? Armed with those insights, the person can approach new relationships with clearer vision and healthier patterns, thus using the past to improve the future. Even at a societal level, when communities face issues like economic downturns or public health crises, the wise course is to examine historical parallels. What did people do in past recessions or pandemics that worked or failed? And then craft forward-looking policies accordingly. Nietzsche's principle motivates us to be proactive. Don't be a passive observer of history, but an active learner who carries the torch of past knowledge forward. By learning and extrapolating, you can approach the future with confidence and a well-informed plan, rather than repeating old cycles. 8. Love of knowledge and integration of life's experiences. Nietzsche celebrates the love of knowledge not as dry intellectualism, but as a passionate, life-guiding force. He saw life itself as a great teacher. Every experience, good or bad, contributes to our understanding if we are willing to learn from it. The truly wise person, in Nietzsche's eyes, is one who hungers for truth and insight, and who weaves their life experiences into a coherent wisdom. This means being curious, reflective, and always extracting lessons from what you go through. Nietzsche's famous adage, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger," captures this idea that enduring life's challenges adds to our strength and knowledge. Practical advice. Approach each day with the mindset of a learner. Treat your life experiences as a curriculum designed just for you. After any significant event, a conflict at work, a personal triumph, a failure, a travel adventure, take a moment to ask, what did I learn from this? You might even keep a journal where you jot down lessons or insights gained from daily experiences. Actively seek knowledge as well. Read widely on topics that interest you. Engage in conversations with people from whom you can learn, and don't shy away from challenging your own views. Nietzsche encourages an integrative approach. Knowledge isn't just academic facts, it's also the wisdom gained from heartfelt experiences. So if you go through a tough time, frame it as part of your education in resilience or empathy. On a very practical level, when something difficult happens, remind yourself, perhaps with Nietzsche's quote, that surviving this will make you stronger. Then deliberately identify how. I am developing more patience, or now I know better how to handle X. By explicitly linking experience to growth, you ensure you're integrating life's lessons. Modern example. Think of someone who works in a constantly evolving field like technology. The ones who thrive are those who continuously learn new skills, adapt to new information, and treat each project, even the failed ones, as learning opportunities. For instance, A software developer might pick up a new programming language for a project. Even if the project fails, the developer has gained knowledge that makes them more versatile, stronger for the next challenge. On a personal front, consider an individual dealing with loss or illness. A Nietzschean approach doesn't demand that one enjoy suffering, but it does encourage finding meaning in it. Perhaps the experience deepens one's compassion or reveals inner courage. Many people, after overcoming adversity, say they wouldn't trade the insight and strength they earned from it, echoing, "What didn't kill me made me stronger." Additionally, in everyday life, maintaining a love of knowledge can be as simple as fostering curiosity. Instead of stagnating in routine, you might take up learning a musical instrument at 50, or ask your friends to teach you about their passions. Each new skill or piece of understanding enriches you. Nietzsche's point is that an active mind and a reflective attitude turn life into a continuous learning journey. The more you learn from books, people, and raw experience, the more equipped you are to live boldly and wisely. 9. Seeing yourself as a microcosm of the bigger world. Nietzsche invites us to recognize that each of us is a microcosm, a little world, that reflects the larger macrocosm of nature and culture. In practical terms, this means understanding that you are both a product of your environment and, potentially, a contributor to it. Your beliefs, fears, and values often mirror broader social currents or human nature. Likewise, the changes you make in yourself can influence the wider world around you. Nietzsche's philosophy encourages a kind of double awareness. See how the macro, your culture, humanity, the natural world, lives in you, and see how your micro-actions and growth are part of the story of the world. He famously described humanity as a transitional being, a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a bridge between past and future. Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a rope over an abyss. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. Practical advice. To put this principle into action, zoom out in your perspective whenever you feel stuck or insignificant. Realize that the challenges you face, finding purpose, dealing with desire or fear, seeking knowledge, are fundamentally human challenges that many across time and space have faced. This can create a sense of kinship with humanity and reduce feelings of isolation. For example, if you are struggling with finding meaning in your job, consider how this reflects a broader human quest for meaningful work. It's not just your issue, it's a human issue. This realization can prompt you to seek solutions that others have tried, connecting the micro to macro. Conversely, zoom in to see how your own growth contributes to the greater whole. If you cultivate a new virtue in yourself, say, you become more honest or more courageous, you are adding that strength to your family, your community, even to the culture. Nietzsche's idea of being a bridge suggests that each person carries humanity forward a little. So, take your self-improvement seriously, knowing it's not just about you. If you improve your health, you become a healthier cell in society's body. If you educate yourself, you add to the collective intelligence of humanity. This gives an extra layer of purpose to personal goals. Modern example. Imagine a person deeply engaged in environmental activism on a small scale, like starting a local recycling program. They might sometimes feel their individual actions are drops in the bucket. Nietzsche would remind them that their microcosmic action reflects a macrocosmic shift, a growing human awareness of living in harmony with nature. Their efforts are a bridge to a future where that value is widespread. On the flip side, consider how understanding yourself can be aided by understanding the world. If you're someone experiencing anxiety, it might help to learn about how human biology and culture produce anxiety in modern life. Macrocosm inside the microcosm of you. This knowledge can normalize your experience and guide you to solutions. E.g., knowing that constant news can trigger anxiety might lead you to limit media exposure. Even in something as personal as creative work, seeing the micro-macro connection helps. A writer or coder solving a problem might recall that many great minds before have tackled similar problems. Tapping into that collective experience through research or collaboration often provides insight. The bottom line, Nietzsche's principle encourages you to see yourself as both uniquely you and a part of something vast. This dual awareness can bring comfort. You're part of a larger story, never truly alone in your struggles, and responsibility. Your life is a piece of human evolution, so make it count. It's a motivating call to engage with the world. Improve yourself as a way of bettering the world, and understand the world as a way of bettering yourself. 10. Listening to nature and learning from it. Nietzsche revered nature as the great grounding force of life. He often criticized philosophies or religions that made people turn away from the earth in favor of some other world. Instead, he implores us, remain faithful to the earth. In practice, this means observing and heeding the lessons of the natural world, our own bodily nature, the environment around us, and the inherent processes of life. Nature operates with rhythms, cycles, and laws, like seasons, growth and decay, cause and effect, that Nietzsche thought we should tune into rather than fight against. By listening to nature, we become more realistic, humble, and healthy in how we live. We learn patience from seasons, resilience from the way life regenerates, and authenticity from the straightforwardness of natural needs and instincts. Remain faithful to the earth, my brothers, with the power of your virtue. Let your gift-giving love and your knowledge serve the meaning of the earth. Practical advice. Connect with nature regularly and learn from it. This could be literal, like spending time outdoors, gardening, walking in a park, or gazing at the night sky, and letting those experiences teach you. For example, witnessing a forest's growth can teach you about gradual development and interdependence. Observing how your body feels after a good meal or a good sleep reminds you of the simple natural foundations of well-being. Make it a habit to unplug and tune in to your natural surroundings each day, even if briefly. While in nature, practice quieting the mental chatter and just notice how things unfold effortlessly. The way a flower turns toward the sun or how water flows downhill. This can inspire you to flow with your own life instead of against it. Nietzsche would also suggest trusting your natural instincts more. Listen to your body's signals. Rest when you're exhausted, move when you're restless, and acknowledge primal needs for friendship, for creative expression, for play. Rather than feeling guilty about these as animal or irrational, recognize them as part of nature's wisdom in you. Modern example. In our modern life, many people combat stress and confusion by returning to nature, and science confirms this is beneficial. For instance, taking a hike when you're overwhelmed by a work problem often clears your mind and might even spark a creative solution, as if the calm order of nature reorganizes your thoughts. This is very much in line with Nietzsche's idea of learning from nature's ways. Another practical angle is sustainability. By paying attention to how nature sustains balance, you might make wiser choices like eating foods in season, because they're fresher and align with natural cycles, or aligning your sleep with the day-night cycle for better rest. Even the concept of listening to human nature comes into play. Nietzsche encourages us not to deny our earthly selves. For example, if you're a student pulling all-nighters fueled by energy drinks, trying to act like a machine, listening to nature would mean realizing your human brain needs sleep to truly function well. Adjusting your habits to respect your natural limits will make you more effective and happier. Essentially, Nietzsche is saying, the more we attune to nature, both around us and within us, the saner and more grounded our lives will be. In a world buzzing with artificial distractions, returning to the basics of sunlight, fresh air, physical movement, and respect for our body's needs is profoundly wise. It keeps us faithful to the earth, which is to say, faithful to reality. By learning nature's quiet lessons, we cultivate stability, perspective, and harmony in our lives. 11. Accepting old age and death, calmly, without anger. Nietzsche challenges us to face the final stages of life, aging and death, with dignity, acceptance, and even a sense of fulfillment, rather than fear or bitterness. He admired those who could die at the right time, meaning they leave life willingly when it is their time, without clinging desperately or cursing their fate. A wise life, in Nietzsche's view, includes making peace with the inevitability of aging and mortality. This doesn't mean welcoming death hastily, but rather living so fully and consummating your life that when death comes, you can accept it as a natural completion, free in death. The goal is to have no regrets and no rage at the end, to see death as the final act of life that can be as meaningful as any other act. One should die proudly when it is no longer possible to live proudly. Death should be chosen freely, death at the right time, faced clearly and joyfully. Practical advice. Cultivate a philosophy of life and death that allows you to approach your later years with serenity. This can start long before old age. For example, practice non-attachment to youth and its trappings. Embrace each stage of life for what it offers. In youth, we have energy, and in older age, we have insight. Each has its role. Rather than fighting the natural process of aging with denial, accept it and find the unique beauty of aging, such as wisdom, patience, perspective. It can be helpful to engage with the topic of mortality regularly but calmly. Some people find meaning in reading philosophical or spiritual works on death, others in attending funerals, not just with grief, but with reflection on how they too want to be remembered. Nietzsche would suggest living each day in such a way that if it were your last, you could say, "It was good." This doesn't mean indulging every impulse, but rather living intentionally and authentically so that when the end comes, you feel your life was true to you. In practical terms, this might mean resolving conflicts and saying what needs to be said to loved ones so you don't leave unfinished business. Pursuing your meaningful goals now rather than endlessly postponing them. And also, when the time comes, communicating your end-of-life wishes to family so that you can have a death on your own terms as much as possible. Modern example. Consider the contrast between someone who rages against getting older versus someone who ages gracefully. The first might refuse to accept any physical limitations, constantly lament the good old days, or deny the reality of death until the very end, which can lead to panic or anger when death approaches. The second person, however, stays active and engaged, but also acknowledges the changes in their body and mind. They might joke about their grey hair rather than hide it, share their life stories and lessons with the younger generation, and gradually simplify their life, putting their affairs in order with a sense of completion rather than defeat. We see examples of dignified acceptance in initiatives like hospice programs, where individuals make conscious choices about how to spend their final days, often focusing on presence with family, enjoying simple comforts of nature or music, tying back to Principle 5, and saying meaningful goodbyes. These choices reflect an embrace of death as a part of life, not as an enemy. It's profoundly motivational in its own way. Knowing that death is natural and approaching, they make the most of the time remaining and meet the end with a calm mind. Nietzsche's ideal is that at the end one might even say, "Was that life? Well then, once more." A final affirmation that one's life was worth it. While not all of us may achieve such a dramatic flourish, we can strive for an attitude of acceptance. By coming to terms with aging and mortality, for instance, celebrating your milestones rather than dreading birthdays and honoring the elderly for their journey, you remove a huge source of fear and negativity. What remains is a clearer focus on living well until the end. In summary, Nietzsche encourages you to live boldly and honestly now, so that in old age you can be content, and to meet death as an old friend, calmly, without anger, and maybe even with a proud smile, knowing you have given life your all. In closing, Friedrich Nietzsche's 11 principles form a powerful toolkit for living a wise, fulfilling life. They urge us to be self-reliant yet connected to culture, ambitious yet patient, realistic yet optimistic. Nietzsche's tone is often passionate and challenging, but at its core it is deeply life-affirming. He wants us to say yes to life, with all its pain, randomness, complexity and finitude, and turn every element of it into fuel for growth. By applying these principles in our modern context, we can transform philosophical insights into concrete action, becoming more resilient, more thoughtful, more creative, and ultimately more ourselves. Nietzsche's wise life is not an easy life, but it is a meaningful and empowered one. It's a life where you are the artist of your own existence, painting with bold strokes of fate, knowledge, and authenticity. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all from Nietzsche is to live in such a way that, when you look back or when life looks back at you, you can say a hearty yes. Yes, this was my life and I have loved it.